So today on the line, I have Bakunzi. Bakunzi, we've been talking and your accent for me is hard to place. So tell us, where are you from and where are you now?
Okay, so I was born in London, England, North London, N17. I born and raised. I came to America. I went to school in Jamaica. My mom's Jamaican. My dad is from Congo, Zaire. Went back to London. Then I emigrated to Chicago in 1996, 95, and moved around a bit. Went back to London, and now I'm in Jamaica. I moved here May of this year.
Okay, interesting. So you're someone who has options. You've got the UK option, you've got the US, and you also have the Zairean or Congolese, whatever. I'm terrible with geography, but you have options. You have 3 potential passports you could be making the use of. Why did you choose Jamaica? What led you there?
So my journey was, I'd been to school here, so I was somewhat familiar. My mother, I've witnessed my mum in the past, like cry, a happy cry, but like she missed home. And when we spoke, she's always said that she never really wanted to leave, which was surprising. You know, a lot of people, the Windrush community in the 60s when she left. So my journey was real quick. I got divorced and it was a bad time. I had moved, I was in Phoenix, moved back to where she was. And the journey was, I was trying to figure out how my relationships could get better because I suck at it, and I always have. And the therapy was like, a lot of things, and mental health is really big in the press and everything is trending. And it was like therapy, and it begins with your mum. And you know, I'm an only child, so if anyone knows what being an only child is like to a Jamaican woman. So it's very proud. So I had to rebuild my relationship with my mum. As I was rebuilding my relationship with my mum, I was falling in love with my mum again. Like, man, thank you for what you've done. I was looking at the sacrifices she had made and everything else, and it all had her education, and she wanted to give. She's given books back, encyclopedias when she sold World Book Encyclopedia I went with her to donate it to the school. So she was always one of those academic, education. And so she went to Jamaica. So I was, I'm with my mom, I divorced, and I'm spending time bonding with my mom. And she went to Jamaica to visit because my uncle was over there. She had to get a COVID test. And we went to CVS. And this is what I will never forgive. I don't know if it's the system or who I'm blaming, healthcare. But we walked into CVS and they went, no. And it hurt because at the time it was an Asian guy. It was terrible. All the intersectionality of it all was terrible. And he said, no, you can't be in here for the COVID test. And they made a 70-year-old Jamaican woman, they made my mom, doesn't matter who she is. She made my mom walk through the drive-through at CVS where there was a car in front, a car behind for her to get swabbed the nose, break it up and put it in. And I was like, wow. We're walking through the drive-through, and that pissed me off. That happened. Then the politics, people talk about Austin being the new South and people are moving. When you're there and you realize the racism, the redlining, it's not all as, Elon Musk is moving in and it looks great, but for Black people traveling, there are still some issues in America. So then that was also playing in. Then we had the storm in Texas, and I was there for the storm.
Right.
And I'm telling you, to be in Texas, Austin, South by Southwest Austin, and not have water, electricity, heat for a couple of days and using snow to flush a toilet, I was glad my mum wasn't here. It was madness. And then I was on Clubhouse and I was listening to the rhetoric of, it wasn't rhetoric, but there was a lot of arguments about coming to America too, and British actors playing American roles and Cool Runnings. And it was a lot of ADOS. And one of the things that ADOS, the whole Clubhouse, these arguments was the American descendants of slaves. I was stuck because I was like, well, I'm Black. When I first came to America, it was beautiful and it was African booty scratcher and your hair was nappy, and now it's all Wakanda. And so I've gone through it, I get it, but I understood their point because there's one thing that they kept saying was, yeah, but you have options. And I had never, ever explored that because I'm in America, my kids are American, I'm married, I'm here, my mum is here, home is where the heart is. And they kept saying, yeah, but you got options, you can go back to somewhere. And I was like, bing, I can. And my mum wanted to go back. So after, it was just like a perfect storm. When my mum went back, I was like, I can go. I've got a green card, like you said, I can go. And so I took the option. And when I got here, it was just, we did everything really quickly and properly, crossing T's, dotting I's. And I just felt something that was a welcoming home. It was really weird. I didn't plan to stay. I just was in a position where I had the option, where I could get a month-to-month lease, where I could get my mum an apartment. Everything just flowed. So that was the long story long.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. So I love that you didn't plan to stay. And you kind of spoke into it a little bit, but exactly what was it that made you decide that despite that all America had to offer, that despite all that the UK perhaps could have offered, that actually sticking it out in Jamaica, going to an environment that's familiar but not entirely familiar, that was the route that you wanted to go down on for however long, however many years or months, etc.
In my head, right, it was, my mum wants to retire. I don't just leave her, I'm an only child. I know my uncle is here, so it's Jamaica, she's familiar, she's home. But I wanted to stay to get her settled. And part of it was, when I got here, it's a bit of a joke. When I moved to Austin, my mum she came back from Jamaica like many years ago. And she was like, Bakunzi, I can't stand it. She came back to Chicago in November. She said, it's too cold. I've got to come down. So she came down, ended up staying and moving. But it cramped my style because I'm 46, single, Black with 2 cats. Here comes my mum and she's staying with me. And I was like, I will never be in a position again where me and I'm living out with my mum and it's like, where'd you go for a date? Oh, no, you can't come back. Come to my house. No. So, so now we're in Jamaica and I got my mum an apartment and a 2-bedroom over there. And it was great. We did her budget and everything. Where we did the Airbnb, there were a lot of expats. There were a lot of German, and they had second homes. And I was like, is anyone renting? And they said, oh yeah, the place where you are, we've got a 1-bedroom downstairs and da-da-da-da. And I was like, I want it. Do you have Wi-Fi? Do you have this? I knew all the things I needed to work remotely. And it happened. And I rented. And so my mum's over there and I'm here.
Right, okay. And so you mentioned—
So the deciding thing was, her retirement. I was able to be close to her and watching.
Nice. And you mentioned a key aspect, which is working remotely. So how does that work for you? What does your remote work setup look like? Because a lot of people, I remember posting a question, sorry to interrupt. I remember posting a question on one of the biggest Black Facebook groups, kind of saying, if people are interested in working remotely from the Caribbean, what sort of factors would you be looking for? And the number of people who were like, if you're posting a job, just post a job. Like, some people don't seem to understand that actually it is possible to do a job independently from another country. You don't necessarily have to be employed by a company in that country. So talk us through what it looks like for you.
In a nutshell, the pandemic may be one of the best things that have happened in terms of restructuring and having everybody stop. If you look at social media and influencers or posting and how money is made in eyeballs, I get it, when you're a nurse, you're a nurse. When you're an accountant, you're an accountant. And we're so used to proximity and geography. And that's what the pandemic showed us, like, if I can save overhead and shut down an office and not have to pay lighting, fees, parking, maintenance, the custodian, and the people work at home, boom, explore that. That can be explored. So it's just a thought process. What I did was I started a travel company just before the pandemic. So I had to survive on consulting, PPP, and this, that, and the other. But what I was studying was Google AdSense and affiliate marketing to the nth degree. Not just, I'm not cute enough to sell Fashion Nova, so it's not, I can't do selfies and what not. But what I realized was, if you are doing a cost analysis of how much it takes for you to live in America. Mm-hmm. And you can hustle, work, study, and then have a career in coding, medical billing, affiliate marketing. And some of it takes getting used to. It's 8 hours computer. You have to get up, stretch, yoga. You're going to have to manage your own time. It's an adjustment. But during the pandemic, start a business, t-shirt, drop shipping. There's many things you can do. We can get into that. There's resources galore. But if you do a cost analysis and realize that the cost of living in Jamaica or the Caribbean or certain other places is less than, if you're willing to take that step, it is absolutely doable. And there are jobs, this WFH, work from home, you see the hashtags, it's actually just investigating. I know, this is a true example of somebody getting paid over 50,000 US dollars to teach English as a second language on the phone. On Zoom and video. Yeah. 50,000. Now, 50,000 is great in a lot of American cities. So you can imagine what it's like if you're in the Caribbean and you're getting the money from an American currency. And, and of course there are tax things you have to deal with, but I mean, there's ways, you've got good accounting.
And so what are the sort of key things that you've had to put in place to make remote working work for you? I know our internet just cut off, so that's possibly not the best advert for Jamaican work.
Yeah, no. I would implore everybody to get a phone that has an eSIM service. Very important. Get a top of the line phone. I think I've invested always in the phone, buy it outright. So you can get it repaired. There's always a way of shipping Apple to somewhere. I'm an Apple person. It's not a plug, they're not paying me. But they now have eSIM, so there's a way to travel. One of the things that people don't know is look for insurance for expats. If you can insure it, someone's making money from it. Mm-hmm. And I was telling someone, like, yeah, but insurance. I was like, do you think actors and executives that spend time in places they don't have insurance and they're covered in the country? You just have to look for it. And don't think these politicians, and when you go to these Caribbean countries, it's third world. These politicians have great doctors right here. You just have to tap into the network and you have to know people and you have to find out what does Aetna, who's in Aetna's International, because they want that money to business. And COVID has shown that. Have a router and a VPN. Good Lord. If I could share one thing, get a great VPN and a great router, because I'm in Jamaica, but I'm in America. So I need my Netflix. I need these things. I need to look like I'm, because your Netflix Prime things may not work. In terms of having a great computer. So long as you have a great Wi-Fi connection, the world is open. And usually you can find out, you might have to pay more in the country, but in terms of what I was paying for Verizon in America here, you're saving money.
Really? That's crazy.
Yes.
Internet here in Grenada, internet is definitely more expensive, but I can't feed myself without it. So I'm like, whatever it is, I'll pay it because.
Right.
Yeah.
Internet's like a drug, man. We gotta have it.
Yeah, it's like blood. You can't function without it. It's
right.
Like a drug. Yeah. And so what would you say is the biggest adjustment that you've had to make in moving back to Jamaica?
The biggest adjustment would be the elitism, classism, the nepotism, and customer service.
Customer service.
When you go to a Caribbean country, and maybe even an African country, you've always got the people that haven't traveled, or the people that have traveled, or the people that are doctors, lawyers, and just in that environment. And as for me, it's weird. I'll go into banks, like the moment I got here, it's like, oh, no more suits and it's cutoffs and sandals. And you'll walk into a bank and there's a what would you like? There's this attitude, like, so I walked into a bank and I had this conversation with a banker. I was like, what if I'm unemployed and can I get a bank account here? And the way they were talking to me is, it's like you're looked down upon. There was a certain classism. And at one point I lost it. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, listen, my money in here is why lights are kept on. And I had to really, but I kind of understood it because I was walking into an environment where I've been in America, where certain places, if you were in the hood or if you were in the right side of the town, I kind of got it. And it exists everywhere. And I hate classism, you know, for many reasons, but being Black, you should always hate classism. But it's just it's nepotism, in it. If I can pay money and get to the top of the list, I'll do that. And that's kind of just how it works in certain parts of the world.
Yeah, no, definitely. You had the same thing in Grenada too, like the classes. I loathe it in the UK. I loathe it even more here, but it's probably less in Grenada than it is in the UK. But in the UK, it's just more sophisticated, so you don't notice it. It's just probably so intrinsic that it's only until it's like really in your face that you notice it. But here I'm like, it's just so unnecessary. Why are you like this? Why do you have to go to the Rotary Club in order to be connected? Or why does it matter how many degrees you have? Or it's just, but again, that's me with my British upbringing. And I just have to understand that it's different and also a result of colonialism. The Brits did a really good job getting into people's heads and making them buy into all this rubbish. But no, for sure, for sure. And one of the questions that people often ask is about cost of living. What would you say on approaching the cost of living conversation in Jamaica? Because Jamaica is huge compared to most islands, and I'm sure it varies a lot from area to area. So what would you, like a mid-range option, a kind of don't even check your bank account option, what would you advise for folks looking
In preparation, I did a cost analysis of what it took or how I'd want to live. Like if I wanted to travel once a month, if I wanted to do this, that, and the other, and it came up to just under 100,000, right? And to the upper tens of thousands. And when I got here, I saw that that was unnecessary. If I was to live like that, it would be very opulent. And so I have an 11 Pro and I love it. And an 11 Pro in America is probably $800 to $900, £600. It's still the same amount here. But the minimum wage in Jamaica is $370, about $400 Jamaican, which is like I think maybe $5, £2, which so it's, and then COVID, and then the cost of living, like eating fresh fish, having a beer, cigarettes, things like that I've looked at doing cost analysis. The cost of living is lower. Excuse me. 2-bedroom apartment with the 2 bathrooms, you can get for under 1,000 in the areas like I am, D-Bay, which is like see the ocean. You know what I mean? Like we're here. So it's
wow.
You know, so, and then, but if you want to go into a gated community and have 3 bedrooms and you want to be in Kingston, I can do you a 2,500 US dollars, but then you're like sliding doors and gate. I mean, so there's a place for everyone's budget in the Caribbean, but there isn't a place for everyone's budget in, let's say, LA or New York.
Right.
So there's still people that are milking it, because people that come, you know, people when you're rich, you're wealthy and you just want to have a place in Jamaica, you're going to create that environment and you're going to price people out. So there is that. But if you want to be, you know, regular and just middle class, it's very, 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 very affordable. Very affordable.
No, that's good to know. That's good to know. And I think of all the islands, Jamaica probably seems the one that has the most range. So yeah, definitely one for people to explore. And you mentioned gated communities. What's your take on your advice on safety? Because often when I say Jamaica, people are like, oh, safety. And I never know what to say because I'm not from there. So I don't want to talk about anyone else's island. So
I think it's like Grenada. I think it's like Grenada. I think it's, I've lived in Chicago, Phoenix, Austin, Miami, I think Kankakee or Indiana. And I'll tell you, you hear about Chicago. If you hang around any place where there's bad man at 2 a.m. in the morning, you're trying to score illicit drugs, chances are your danger the possibility of something bad happening to you is high.
Yeah.
If you're just going somewhere and you're not flashing and, holding money up to your ear and like making it rain and all these crazy, ostentatious ways of living, no one's going to really bother you. Safety. The thing is, I would rather be poor, below the poverty line, or working hard on an island where they're used to colonialism and money and the way that, man, it can be hard here, but boy, I guess I give you a papaya, you give me a sugar. You having a party, you come here, and there's still a barter. And I cannot stress it enough, you take out race, I can live under that. I've seen the population in Austin in 3 years go crazy, the homeless population. And I've seen the gentrification happen right before our eyes, and no one's stopping it, in part because of capitalism, greed, and everything else. So that's the safety that's dangerous. You go into Austin and they're worried about panhandlers and people because they need to eat, and then we're going to feast on you, the rich that are there, and we see it. Whereas in Jamaica, there's a lot of gang violence in concentrated areas because the bad things are concentrated, but it's like anywhere else. But if you're into tourism and everything else, the government's going to protect the tourists. That's their main import, industry. And then it's, fish, things. We're always going to protect it. And it's not as drug. I haven't, apart from marijuana, I'm telling you, I have not seen a lot of illicit drugs in Jamaica. And I've not been offered, I've not seen, I can't see people on the street. And it's weird because coming in Chicago, it's like, it's the absence of that. No sirens, no crime, no. So I'm aware of the lack of crime.
Huh. Wow.
So I feel safe. And I don't agree with gated communities because who are you gating it from? That's a suburban, that's an American, a scheme thing. Like,
Yeah, no, for sure. And so what's your long-term goal? What's the plan? What's the strategy for being in Jamaica, making it work for you? You mentioned that you also have a trip to Uganda coming up. So what's the combination?
My dream has been, I did an emotional intelligence course about you write your vision board. I see why women do it. Not to be sexist, but men should do vision boards. I see it and write on it affirmations because it works. But I've written down the things that I'm checking out for time on move here. If I could, I'd have 3 places: land in America, apartment villa in Jamaica, and land in Africa. One for solar paneling and help the land, because I'm not going to spend the majority of my time there, but there's coffee and land and resource, and a place to stay when I'm there, family in Uganda. A place in America, like land, somewhere maybe like Florida, which we're currently looking at with some friends. So I could have a trailer home or an Airstream, but I've got land. And then an apartment, which would be based in Jamaica, that when I'm not here, rent out Airbnb and leave my car with it and the people that come. Because, I've got a network now. I know Zoe. I know a lot of other people. Hey, Bakunzi, and I can be my own Airbnb. Hey, do you want your apartment? It's free on these days. And I trust this network and people that want to expat around the world and trips around the planet rather than going on Airbnb and having to worry about people. So that's my goal, 2 of which I'm actively doing. So
nice. And I like that as well. I mean, COVID permitting and everything else. But the idea that like, if you move to the Caribbean, a Caribbean island, that's it, you're stuck there. You've all of your chips are cashed in. It's not necessarily true. You can be based in one place, spend 3 months somewhere else. So this kind of like, it's a sort of do or die decision. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. It really doesn't.
At all. Yeah. And if anything, this last 2 years, COVID has shown it's you have to change your thinking. If you're stuck in the same way of thinking before COVID, it's dangerous. And you have to preserve your mental health by adapting. And humans, it's human nature. We'll survive this, and just different thought.
Absolutely. Well, it's been great to talk to you. But before I let you go, I would love to know, what advice do you have to someone looking to make a move to Jamaica? What steps would you advise them to go through? What tips would you offer?
Okay, I've wrote some notes. Create a budget of your life right now, bare bones. travel insurance, rent, mortgage, credit card, car note payments as it is now. Not how you want it, what is it you live on right now. Take an inventory of all your stuff, your furniture, possessions, what you want to give away, friends that you might want to give something to, lighten the load. A garage sale can generate some money. Visit 3 or 4 times, let the kids see it, know the different areas, at least 3 or 4 times, not vacation, not cruise, go. Join a group, expats that are there, people that are there that have done it, ask questions. While you're visiting, talk to a financial institution, talk to an immigration lawyer. People will say they know someone, talk to a lawyer in the country, talk to an accountant in the country, go into a bank and say, what are the things that I might need or how does it work? Because they'll give you information. Look at the schooling system and compare. It's very funny. I've been to school in Jamaica. The education is superior. It's not one of these, education is taken very seriously in the Caribbean. So rather than going to international schools, look at some of the schools and what they stand for in their curriculum. Get a reputable shipping agent, one that will go through the process. I moved my mum 1 bedroom from Austin, Texas to Jamaica. We stayed in an Airbnb, found her an apartment. She moved in all within 4 weeks. Yeah, 3.5 weeks. And I saw the container, we wrapped everything up, labeled it properly so we could get in. And because, everyone tells you when you go to the Caribbean, you're going to be at the wharf and they're going to rip you off in customs. Mm-hmm. No one's journey is your journey. Do get a reputable person. And the transition will be great, but it's that way you can do everything over a 2-month period, 8 weeks, ticking off things, rather than I've got an idea, because sometimes you might discover some hurdles that you need to, overcome, and then check the immigration, that's it.
Yeah, no, definitely. But having that sort of flexibility built in, okay, this is the ideal scenario, but actually I'm going to be able to go with the flow. And if it doesn't go this way, I can still adapt. Really, really key. And top tip on financial institutions. I could probably do a whole series on how to try to open a bank account in the Caribbean. Yeah.
They get in your business, don't they? They want to know some stuff.
Yeah, the only way I was able to get around it was getting a Grenadian passport, and that reduced the hurdles. But yeah, it's no mean feat. So maybe we could do another session on the financial side.
Yeah, I know. I enjoyed this. This is dope. I love what you're doing. Love it, love it, love it.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you. It's nice to finally get some guys. I feel like every week I'm talking to women. So thank you for representing the men who are also making moves. And best of luck with whatever comes next.
Thank you. Thank you.